My name is Daisy Hale. I'm 29 years old, and this is the story of how the woman I loved called me practice and how I walked away without looking back. The rain tapped against our apartment windows like restless fingers. It was late, the kind of night where the city feels like it's holding its breath. I sat on the couch, staring at the flickering TV I'd muted hours ago, while Jess, my girlfriend of 3 years, twisted the promise ring around her finger. The same silver ring I'd given her on our 1-year anniversary. She used to call it her forever ring, but she never once moved it to her left hand. Daisy Jess's voice cracked the silence. "We need to talk." I muted the last ghost of sound from the television and turned to her. My voice came out flat, steadier than I felt. "Yeah," I said. "We do." Jess blinked surprised, like I had stolen her script. She leaned forward, eyes sharp, but her hands fidgeting with that ring. I already knew what was coming. My gut had known for weeks. "You know, don't you?" she accused, voice rising defensively before I'd said a word. "Know what I asked quietly? That I've been seeing someone." The words landed like dull knives. Not sharp, not sudden, just inevitable. "Which part should I know?" "Jess," I asked, keeping my tone calm, almost detached. Her face flushed, her composure cracking. "God, you always do this. You watch people like some creepy lie detector. It's exhausting." I tilted my head. "You used to like that about me. Remember?" My eyes flicked to her hands. "You only twist your ring when you're lying. And you changed your nail polish right before your last girls' night. The one where Tasha texted me asking why you bailed on them." Silence. Heavy. Then Jess exhaled like the truth had been dragged out of her ribs. "Fine," she hissed. "Yes. There's someone else. His name's Jason." She gestured vaguely between us. "But it's not just that, Daisy. This," she waved at our home, "our life me was never supposed to be forever. You were safe. Practice. For when I found my real soulmate." Practice. The word burned its way down my throat like gasoline. "Don't make it ugly," she said quickly, as if she hadn't just detonated my chest. "You knew I was out of your league." I stood so abruptly, her sentence trailed off. My vision tunneled my body, moving before my brain caught up. I walked to the bedroom, pulled my gym duffel from the closet, and started filling it with the Essentials Passport laptop, the watch my dad gave me before he died. Nothing more. Behind me, Jess followed, her voice turning shrill. "Wait, that's it. No fight, no begging me to stay. You're just leaving." I yanked open the drawer, grabbed socks, shoved them into the bag. Why would I fight for someone who just called me her practice run? Her phone buzzed on the dresser screen, lighting up the dark. A Tinder notification. Jason. "Still on for tonight." I barked a bitter laugh, sharp and humorless. Couldn't even wait until I left. "It's not what you—" She snatched the phone like that would erase the words. "God, you're so emotional. This is why I need a real man." My chest ached, but I zipped the bag, calmly shouldered it, and turned to her. "Who?" "Someone who won't notice you're lying. Someone who lets you cheat in peace." "Congrats, Jess. You found him." I pointed to her phone. "Hope he remembers you're allergic to shellfish." Her mouth open-closed. Nothing came out. "The lease is up in 3 months. I'll transfer my half remotely. Don't contact me." Jess moved to block the doorway, desperation flaring in her eyes. "You're really just walking out, after 3 years." I looked her dead in the eyes. "You ended us the second you called me practice. I'm just making it official." When I brushed past her, she grabbed my arm, nails biting into my skin. "You'll regret this," she spat. I peeled her fingers off one by one, her hand trembling against mine. "The only thing I regret," I said, voice low, "is not seeing you sooner." The door clicked shut behind me. The rain outside had stopped. I made myself 3 rules as I walked away. No impulsive reactions. No emotional revenge. No leaving a single trace. I was done being practice. From now on, I would be the one writing the rules. The first 72 hours after I left Jess, I disappeared. Not physically. My body was still in the city, but piece by piece, I stripped her out of my life until there was nothing left to cling to. I called it Operation Ghost Protocol. I started with the easy stuff. Instagram unfollowed, blocked every photo we'd taken together, deleted. 147 memories gone in less than 10 minutes. Our Spotify playlists erased. She once made me a mix called Jess and Forever. Now it was nothing but silence. Netflix password changed, logged her out of every device. Then came the petty things. Venmo blocked. after she had the audacity to request $8.50 for half of last month's toilet paper. LinkedIn connection removed. Career karma is still karma. Apple Music, I deleted the playlist she made for me, ironically titled Songs That Sound Like Us. But my masterpiece was the shared Google Photos album. I didn't delete it. Instead, I renamed it Evidence of Poor Life Choices. Then I left it sitting there untouched, a landmine waiting for her to notice. Her first text arrived at 1:17 a.m., 3 days post-breakup. Jess, we need to talk about the security deposit. I read it, didn't reply. 12 minutes later, another message. Jess, hello, this is money we're talking about. I took a screenshot and sent it to Mike, my best friend since college, with the caption, Phase 3 initiated. Mike called almost immediately, half laughing, half incredulous. Daisy, she's already spiraling. Guess what Jason bailed on their date tonight? I didn't answer, just stared at the ceiling and let the silence speak for me. By week 2, the digital breadcrumbs started. Jess's Instagram story, a vague quote about people who can't handle strong women. Her Spotify showed she'd suddenly gone back to our old playlists, the same ones she mocked for being basic. Then came intel from mutual friends. Dude, one of them texted me. She asked if you've been stalking her socials. I laughed out loud. Texted back, tell her yes. Tell her I hired a private investigator. Tell her whatever makes her sweat. But the best part was something she'd forgotten, her Google search history, still linked to our shared account. I scrolled through late one night, smirking as I read, How to Know If Your Ex Still Cares. Jason, personal trainer, cheating Reddit. Why do people ghost if they still love you? Her panic was a slow leak, and I was watching the pressure build from a safe distance. Week 3 brought escalation. A voicemail, her voice raw and broken. You think you're so smart with your silent treatment? Newsflash. I wanted you to leave. Jason and I are glass clinking, better than ever. So thanks for freeing me up for a real man. But in the background, I caught it. A TV playing The Notebook. No Jason's voice, no laughter. Just the soundtrack of loneliness. I saved the voicemail under the title Karma's Intro Track. The second crack came more dramatically. Mike sent me a screenshot Jason's Instagram story. Jason with his arm around a blonde at some neon-lit club. Captioned, When You Upgrade. I stared at it for a long moment. My chest didn't ache this time. No sharp burn. Just a cold, detached recognition. Then I went back to rigging my fishing line. The dawn in Tamarindo was glassy, the ocean still as a mirror. I'd been there for 2 weeks learning to cast from an old fisherman who didn't speak English. We didn't need words. He'd nod when I got it right, grunt when I didn't. Simple, honest. My phone buzzed again. Mike. She commented classy on his post. Then he deleted it. I didn't reply. Just took a photo of the sunrise and posted it on my story, my first in months. No caption, no tags, just the horizon bleeding orange. Her reply came faster than I expected, from an unknown number. So this is where you've been running away to play beach bum. I blocked it without responding. The third sign of collapse hit harder. Another screenshot, this time from her Twitter account, the one she swore she never used. If a man tells you he's single, assume he has a wife, a girlfriend, and a secret family in another state. I snorted. Classic Jason. That night, another voicemail. Her voice was wrecked, almost unrecognizable. You must be loving this. Turns out your little observant thing wasn't so crazy after all. He's been engaged for 8 months. A shaky breath. I need to know if you... I deleted it mid-sentence. But the most telling sign wasn't digital. It was Mike's call, 3 a.m. His voice strained. Daisy, you're not going to believe this. She showed up at my place last night. Drunk. Crying. Said you owed her an explanation. I watched a stray dog trot down the beach outside my cabina. What did you say, I asked? I told her you said thanks. Thanks. Yeah, her words, not mine. Thanks for proving my point. Then she puked in my hibachi grill. The dog stopped to lick at a coconut husk. The sea whispered steady and unbothered. I smiled to myself. She was unraveling, and I wasn't even there to watch. But the truth was, a part of me wondered if ghosting her completely was enough. Because Jess didn't just betray me. She tried to reduce me to a footnote, and I wasn't sure silence could ever balance that kind of debt. By the 4th week, Jess's mask had completely slipped. Her carefully curated life, filtered smiles, sharp captions, glittering nights, was starting to rot at the edges, and she couldn't stop herself from leaving crumbs for me to find. It began with the desperate texts. Unknown number. Please just tell me you hate me. Unknown number. I can't sleep. At least say something. Unknown number, fine. Be a child. I was going to apologize, but forget it. You're pathetic for ignoring me like this. I miss you. You. Answer your phone. By dawn, 7 more messages had stacked on top of each other. The final one chilled me most. Unknown number. I'm outside your apartment right now. Where the hell are you? I sipped my coffee in Costa Rica, watching pelicans dive bomb into the ocean. Then I snapped a photo of the empty hammock swaying between palm trees. Posted it. Her reply was immediate. Oh my God, are you in Costa Rica while I'm here dealing with this? Block, delete, silence. The unraveling didn't stop. Mike called me, voice low, the way you talk when holding something fragile. She's unraveling Daisy. Bad. Jason dumped her. I raised an eyebrow, even though he couldn't see me. Shocking. He had a fiancée the whole time. Guess she found out when the other woman tagged him in a wedding prep post. I could almost hear Jess's rage, the way she'd slam her phone down when the world stopped orbiting around her. Then came the public spectacle. Mike's voice was tight when he called at 4:17 a.m. They took her to St. Mary's. What happened? She crashed Jason's wedding reception, screamed at him for 20 minutes, then hurled a champagne flute at the mirror behind the bar. He paused. 7 stitches in her palm. Jason's pressing charges. I closed my eyes, saw her in my mind. Shoulders hunched the same way they had when she lost control with me. That violent tremor, like her body always knew, before she did, that something inside her was about to shatter. Is she alive? I asked. Unfortunately, Mike muttered. Days later, another voicemail arrived. Her voice was slurred, probably from painkillers. I know you know, and I know you're not coming, but I need you to know something. A pause, then a ragged inhale. That night when I said you were practice, her breath shook. I lied. You weren't practice. You were the real thing. I was just scared. The message cut off abruptly. I didn't replay it, didn't analyze the crack in her voice or the words she hadn't finished. I saved it, filed it away, like evidence. But the truth was, Jess wasn't haunting me. She was haunting herself. Every message, every drunken outburst, every failed attempt at rewriting the past, she wasn't chasing me. She was chasing the version of herself she'd destroyed. And I realized, for the first time since I left, I wasn't angry anymore. Just empty. Then fate twisted the knife. A wedding invitation arrived at my mailbox in Costa Rica. Thick cardstock, embossed lettering. Pretentious. The kind of thing Jess always mocked. But the names on it weren't hers. Jason Michael Carter and Tasha Renee Collins. I froze. Tasha, Jess's friend. Mike called right on cue. You're not going to believe this. Jess found out when Tasha tagged her in some bridesmaid dress-fitting post. I stared at the invitation. The RSVP deadline had passed 2 weeks ago. You going, Mike asked. I dropped the envelope straight into the trash. Nah, I said. I've got plans. 2 months later, the photo appeared on my feed. Jason in a tux, stiff smile. Tasha glowing in white. Bridesmaids lined up in pastel silk. At the far end of the line, Jess. Her smile, strained eyes, dead bouquet, clutched so tight her knuckles turned white. The caption read, When Dreams Come True. I zoomed in one last time on Jess's clenched hand, then closed the app. That night, an unknown number lit up my screen. I should have picked you. I stared at it for a long moment. My fingers hovered over the keys, then typed, But you didn't. Send. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully. The first time I saw Jess again, it wasn't planned. It was raining the hard kind sideways, stinging needles on skin. I had come back to the city for 1 weekend, only just long enough to empty out my storage unit before heading on to Bali. And then there she was, standing under the awning of our old coffee shop, the same place we had our first date. Her hair was darker now, cut shorter, as if she thought a new style could erase old sins. But what struck me most wasn't how different she looked. It was how small she seemed. I almost walked past her. Almost. Daisy Jess's voice broke through the rain. I kept moving. My boots splashed against the pavement. She lunged, fingers catching my arm. Seriously, after everything, you're just going to ignore me. I turned slowly, my gaze dropping to her hand on my jacket. One by one, I peeled her fingers off the same way I had the night I left. You're blocking the door. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I stepped around her, pushed through the door, and ordered a black coffee. The smell of roasted beans hit me like a punch of déjà vu. Behind me, I could feel her eyes burning holes into my back. You look good, she said finally. I didn't turn, just took my cup too hot to drink and replied, Fuck you. Her voice cracked. You don't get to just disappear and then come back like nothing happened. I exhaled slowly, let the steam rise from the coffee, then said, "You're right, I don't." And then I walked out, leaving her still dripping beneath the awning. Later that night, I was at Mike's place, half a beer in hand, when he shook his head. She's losing it. Again. I scrolled absently through my phone, pretending not to care. New messages blinked on the screen. Unknown numbers. I knew who they were from before opening them. "I know you saw me today. Jason dumped me. He's a liar. He's the real villain here. We need to talk." Block. Delete. Silence. Mike whistled low. Cold. I finished my beer, the taste bitter. Cold would have been telling her she was right. Right about what? I set the bottle down, grabbed my keys. That I was practice. Mike frowned, brows knitting together. What the hell does that mean? I gave him a thin smile. It means she thought I was temporary. And she was right, but not the way she wanted. I was just practice. For myself. For learning how to walk away. But Jess wasn't done. The messages escalated over the next weeks. "I hate you. I miss you. I'm sorry. Answer me, please." Every text sounded like a different person. Anger, sorrow, bargaining, regret. She was cycling through every stage of grief, but she wasn't mourning me. She was mourning the version of herself that still believed she could always come back no matter how deep the wound she left. Then came the wedding crash. Mike called again, his voice tight. She showed up at Jason and Tasha's reception. Full-on meltdown. Screamed in front of everyone. Threw a champagne glass. It shattered behind the bar. Security had to drag her out. I closed my eyes. I could picture it too easily. Jess's shoulders shaking her hand, trembling right before the throw. That violent energy, like she wanted someone else to bleed so she wouldn't have to. "She's pressing charges against him now," Mike added. "And he's pressing charges against her. It's a mess." "Sounds about right." "You should call her Mike," said carefully. "I shouldn't," I answered. "And I won't." A week later, a voicemail came at 300 a.m. Her voice was shaky, wrecked. "I know you'll never forgive me, but you were the only real thing I ever had. You were the love of my life, Daisy, and I destroyed it." For a long moment, I sat in silence, the phone against my ear, rain against the window again, just like the night it ended. Then I hit delete. I wasn't her closure, and she wasn't mine. We were just two ghosts haunting the wrong places. The airport bar was crowded, the kind of chaos where suitcases roll over shoes, and voices blur into static. I'd just come through security Bali boarding pass tucked into my passport. That's when I noticed him. He was leaning at the counter, half smile on his lips, a climbing magazine sticking out of his bag. His presence was calm, solid, like he wasn't trying to be seen, but you couldn't ignore him anyway. He glanced at my untouched glass and nodded. "You waiting on someone?" I shook my head. "No, just deciding whether to drink or delete another voicemail." He chuckled. "Not the mocking kind, the understanding kind. Sounds like you already made the decision if you're here alone." I studied him. Brown hair slightly messy, like he hadn't overthought it. Calloused hands wrapped around his drink. Eyes sharp, but not piercing. They looked steady. "Daisy," I said finally, extending a hand. "Brian," he replied. Grip firm, not desperate. We talked until the gate announcement crackled overhead. About travel. About the places we wanted to see. About nothing that required us to bleed. For the first time in months, maybe years, I realized I wasn't performing. I wasn't defending. I wasn't dissecting every word for hidden lies. It was just conversation. And that was enough. But Jess hadn't vanished. Not yet. My old phone buzzed in my pocket, the one I'd shoved in a drawer but still carried for emergencies. I made the mistake of glancing at the screen. Unknown number. "I heard you're happy now." Unknown number. "Do you even care that I'm in pieces?" I slid the phone face down on the counter. Brian noticed. "Work?" he asked. "Wrong number," I said. It wasn't a lie, not anymore. On the flight, Brian and I ended up seated 2 rows apart. I pretended to sleep, but every so often my eyes drifted toward him, his steady breathing, the book open on his lap. And I wondered, maybe this was what peace looked like. Not fireworks, not chaos. Just safety that didn't feel like settling. Weeks passed, and Brian became more than an airport coincidence. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into long walks, where silence wasn't uncomfortable. His presence was the antidote to everything Jess had left behind. Her games, her ultimatums, her endless need to win. One night, while he cooked pasta in his tiny kitchen, my phone buzzed again. "No hard feelings. You got the happy ending. I got the therapy bills." I stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it. Brian glanced over his shoulder, wooden spoon in hand. Everything okay? I forced a smile. Yeah, just wrong number again. He nodded, untroubled, and went back to stirring. And for the first time, I felt no urge to correct him, because Jess was the wrong number. And Brian, he felt like dialing the right one finally. Years slipped by faster than I expected. Brian and I built something steady, something quiet, a rhythm of Sunday markets road trips with no destination, late-night conversations that didn't end in slammed doors. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't fireworks, it was real. But ghosts don't care how far you've come. They find ways to slip back in. It started with an email. Subject, no hard feelings. The name in the sender line made my stomach twist. Jess. I hovered over the message, debating whether to open it. Curiosity won. I saw the photos. She's prettier than me. Funnier too, I bet. Funny how life works. You get the happy ending, and I get the therapy bills. Anyway, congratulations. Or whatever. No apology. No accountability. Just bitterness, dressed up as resignation. I showed Brian sliding the phone across the couch. He read it, handed it back. You want a reply? I stared at the blinking cursor in my draft box. I could type a dozen responses, cruel ones, kind ones, lies, that pretended I didn't care. But all I said was no. Brian kissed my temple. Good choice. But Jess wasn't done. More messages trickled in over the months. Do you ever think of me? I still dream about us. You were the real thing, Daisy. I just didn't know until it was too late. I never replied. Still, some nights I found myself reading them in the dark, my thumb hovering over the keyboard, wondering if closure was something you could ever give someone else, or if it was something they had to dig out of their own ruins. The final blow came unexpectedly. I received a wedding RSVP in the mail. Mike's. A neat stack of names scribbled in messy cursive. Halfway down the list, I froze. Jess, with a +1 I didn't recognize. For weeks, I kept expecting her to show up to corner me at the reception to spill venom one last time. But she didn't come. Mike told me later she'd moved to Portland. Dating a forestry worker. Stable, quiet, boring. For once, I believed him. That night after the wedding, I tucked the RSVP card into a drawer, sat on the edge of the bed staring at the small piece of paper with her name scratched across it. A relic of a ghost who'd finally stopped knocking. But the truth, she didn't leave me with scars. She left me with a compass, a reminder of every place I refused to return to. And maybe that was her only gift worth keeping. 5 years later, the last time I saw Jess's name was on paper. It wasn't a love letter or an apology. It was scribbled in fading cursive on a wedding RSVP, Mike's wedding. She'd written it next to a +1 I didn't recognize. But she never showed. Mike told me later she'd moved to Portland. Dating a guy who worked in forestry. Seemed stable, he shrugged. I nodded, bouncing my daughter on my knee. Good for her, and I meant it. That night, as I tucked my daughter beneath the covers, she grabbed my finger with her tiny hand. Mommy, she whispered, tell me the story about the princess who got lost. Her eyes glowed in the dim lamplight, expectant. I smoothed her hair back and kissed her forehead. That one's boring, sweetheart. She pouted. Then which one? The pirate, I said with a smile. Her face lit up. With the treasure I promised. She giggled, curling into her blanket, and I began weaving a tale about ocean storms and finding gold where no one thought to look. Later, when the house was quiet, I stood by the window. The stars shimmered above, distant and steady. My life, messy, imperfect, beautiful, was finally still. Somewhere far away, Jess was probably out there. Maybe she was happy. Maybe she was still chasing ghosts. But for me, the story was over, because I had learned something Jess never did. Love isn't practice. It isn't games or lies or fire that burns until nothing's left. Love is choosing to stay, to build, to begin again. And as I turned away from the window, the night silent around me, I realized I wasn't haunted anymore.